Hey, Sharice Mwangi here. I want to talk to somebody who's dealing with an extreme amount of fear, afraid to move forward, afraid to move backwards, no matter what the fear is of your movement. I want to talk to you today. In 2014, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. They couldn't give us an estimated time that she had left because it was so far gone. It could have been a couple of days, a couple of hours. It could have been a couple of months, but they could not say. In fact, the doctors would rather not say because it was that severe. And I remember when my mom was coherent and I was sitting next to her and I was having this conversation with her. And for me, every bit that we talked about was so dear because it was going to be the last, and I knew it. The Lord had already spoke to me and told me he was going to take her home. He just didn't specify the day or the time. And I remember having this conversation, and then I flew back to LA. And this conversation went like this. She said, if I only knew that time was going to wind down on me like this, that I was going to get sick with cancer, and that they was going to count me out. If I only knew that there wasn't going to be nothing left for me to do because I wouldn't have the time, I would have done it. I would have obeyed the Lord. I would have followed those dreams. I would have stepped out in faith. I would have done things. But I spent my life being afraid of everything. Afraid to make mistakes. Afraid to fail. Afraid that people wouldn't have my back. Afraid that if I made this choice, people would judge me. Afraid. The conversation was so deep for me. And it was intimate and personal because she wasn't really talking about herself. She was talking about me. She was talking about the person that I had become. And so she turned and she looked at me with those tubes in her nose, and she's hanging on to life, and she said to me, what do you have to lose? And at that point, I was in a huge breakup, and I was losing my mom. And I don't know, something about losing your mama or your daddy. It's like you ain't got nothing else to lose. Nothing else is important to you because you losing your best friend. You losing everything. And so when she said that, all that fear melted away because I didn't have anything left. I didn't have anything else to lose. And so she said, and if you fail, what happens then? And I said, I don't know. She said, you still got life in your breath. You still got life. You still got air in your body. You still have your capacity. Get back up and go again. And I needed those words because what I was about to face was about to be the hardest thing I would ever face in my whole life. And it was because of those encouraging words that I had nothing to lose. And I had everything to gain by moving forward, by stepping out, by making that choice to be exactly who God called me to be, whether people liked it or not, unapologetically moving forward. And all of that. So I sat next to my mom's bed for about 10 days. And I went home thinking she might have some more time. I knew that she didn't, but I was hoping, believing. But the way I saw my mom suffering, I was just knowing that God was going to take her. And I went home and I laid on my bed. And everything that I had going on in LA was mediocre at most, at best. And I thought to myself, I got to make these changes. So as I'm praying and talking to God, my phone rings. And before I even answered the phone, the Lord said, I'm going to take her home. I'm going to let her go to sleep. And I knew I needed to get my ticket and go back home. And so I got on the plane and I sat with my mom in the hospital for those last few days. My mom had seizure after seizure. And she suffered her way out of this life. And as I watched that, there was an overwhelming fear that one day my number would be called and I would not choose to live. God had given me a life to live, and I would have to choose to live it. Or when it's my day to check out, I'd be filled with regret. My mom prayed and asked the Lord to forgive her. She repented for all the things she should have done and did not do. She repented for living a life of fear. And then she took her final breaths and she went home. I looked at my mom and I went and told the nurse, my mom has passed away. Can you come and deal with it? And I packed my things up and I walked out like a soldier. I don't know why I didn't cry. I don't know why I didn't lose it. I just didn't. But there was a braveness in me. There was a boldness in me to not leave this earth with any regrets. And sometimes people have spoken or said, or we've told ourselves that we don't have what it takes in us. But if you only knew, your day will come and you may be in a bed. You may be in an accident. You may be anyway. But could you imagine having your last few moments only thinking about what you should have done? That is the worst place, I believe, that anybody could leave this world thinking, I could have, but I didn't because I was afraid. I was scared. And I probably wouldn't have even shared this story, except for I think that many believers are scared to come out of their shell, scared to emerge. You know, a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, but at some point in time, it has to emerge. It hides away from the world for a short period of time, but then when it comes out beautiful and amazing. And people stop and stare and go, look at that butterfly. You've been in your shell too long. You've been hibernating too long. The Lord has already perfected that thing in you. Won't you come out of your cocoon? I don't want to see you live just to live, living in fear, living in regret, living in the lies of the enemy. Today I encourage you, emerge like a butterfly, my friend. Life has no expectancy time that you know of. It could be today or 30 years. But when you get ready to go, you make sure that you go out with a bang. And that is how a Christian should live. I love you. Be encouraged. God bless you.